Fox News Podcast Network.
I'm Emily Campagno, and this is the Fox True Crime Podcast.
And I had nothing to do with her disappearance, but people still accuse me of it.
I sit down with the people who lived the nightmares.
I was in shock. I was just devastated.
The investigators who tirelessly worked on the case.
I feel for their families, and I really hope that they can catch this guy.
Bringing you closer to the story than you ever thought possible.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Get all of your favorite Fox News podcasts commercial-free on Apple Podcasts with Fox News Podcasts Plus. From Dana Perino, Kennedy, Ben Domenech, The Duffys, and many more. Subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. The Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, featuring insight from top newsmakers, reporters, and Fox News contributors. Listen and subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A missing teen found dead. I'm Wes Woodward, and here's what's trending this hour. A stolen car investigation and a mother's report of a missing child led police to finding a teenager's body in a retention pond. Sasha Nixon has more.
Officers found a stolen car on Sunday, March 24th, and eventually arrested 2 of the 3 minors who had been inside. But they could not find the third. A mother then reported that her teenage son was missing and may have run away from home. More than a week later, conservation officers found Caden Swanigan's body in a retention pond close to the scene of the stolen car investigation. Sasha Nixon, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
It wasn't just one life that was affected. Donnie Burgess reports on the end of the Dorsey case.
Giving convicted cop killer Elias Dorsey only 25 years in prison for the death of IMPD officer Breanne Leaf hurts everyone, says Chief Chris Bailey.
We've had officers that have pensioned off because of the trauma related to this, have chosen to go to a different agency because of this incident.
Donnie Burgess, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
Senator Mike Braun thinks government should avoid meddling, encourage competition, and keep taxes light for Hoosiers. Ryan Hedrick explains why Braun is running for governor.
He says too many states, including Indiana, are in the business of buying land and developing it.
And I think that is a slippery slope. It begs the question of, are you picking now winners and losers to come along with that?
Braun is talking about the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the economic arm of the state. He says that the size of the government limits its efficiency. Ryan Hedrick, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
I'm Wes Woodward, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Clear skies in place for the overnight. Frost is possible in some locations with low temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. Tomorrow, a dry start, scattered showers, and a few rumbles of thunder possible in the afternoon and evening. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
BoerRemodeling.com, serving Central Indiana for 23 years. These are your kitchen and bathroom remodeling specialists. When you're ready to make the change, they're ready for you. It's a new year, so it's time to get it done. That kitchen, that heart of the home, the bathroom, a place where you can actually relax and build instant equity in your home. 317-852-5546 or online at Boer, BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our Rhino Shield has been on for 8 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
It's getting dark, too dark to see. I feel I'm knocking on heaven's door.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Welcome back, Indianapolis, to another edition of Saturday Night on the Circle, where for tonight's episode, we're going to discuss not everything is falling apart in the city of Indianapolis. One brave Hoosier intervened at a subway right next to my alma mater, University of Indianapolis, on Hannah Avenue, saving them from a violent assault. We'll also tell you about, of course, the tragic mass shooting that happened last weekend at the Circle Center Mall, and update you on the continuing battle between lawful homeowners and squatters in New York City, plus a whole lot more and an Easter Sunday review. So stay tuned to Saturday Night on the Circle, where I, of course, am your humble host, Ethan Hatcher, welcoming you back to the show. Happy to be here, as always. And producer Jack, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Last weekend was awful. Saturday night, about 11 o'clock-ish, more than 7 juveniles were injured in a mass shooting. Fortunately, these punk kids had bad aim, so nobody died, but it was a tragic scene.
Come here to Illinois and Maryland now. I don't need you to wait and stay. I need you down here now.
You can hear the stress in the officers' voices as they responded to the scene near the intersection of Illinois and Maryland streets just after 11:30 Saturday night.
I need 4 medics right now.
The number of wounded continued to grow.
I have a juvenile male shot twice with non-lethal tourniquet being applied.
I've got an additional female shot in the foot. I have 5 people shot.
Ultimately, 7 juveniles were injured in the shooting. Police believe there was some sort of disturbance before it started. Paramedics took 6 victims to the hospital. A 7th arrived later on their own.
Of the 7 juveniles who were injured, 2 were 16-year-old males, one was a 16-year-old female, 3 were 14-year-old females, and then one was a 12-year-old boy who was at the scene. 12-year-olds arming themselves and getting in fights at 11 p.m. on a Saturday evening. Now, producer Jack, are you a Denzian of the Circle Center Mall? Is that a place that you often peruse for your retail experiences?
Not for me personally, no.
And why would you go? Because at this point, you'd have to strap up to stay safe.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well, the parents have really neglected their children, allowing 12-year-olds to be unsupervised in the middle of the city at 11 p.m. This should go without saying. That's gross negligence. And really, we need to start holding the parents accountable for these reckless children that are running loose across the city. Reverend Charles Harrison of the 10-Point Coalition begging parents to keep track of their kids, something that shouldn't need to be asked.
I would say over the last 8 to 10 years, we've had a growing problem of juveniles coming downtown carrying weapons. And sadly, sometimes when they get into a conflict, it leads to gun violence. And if we're going to stop these mass shootings, whether they be downtown or in other areas of the city, we have to get the parents involved. That has always been the problem of parents allowing their children to be downtown and in other locations across the city at hours where they should not be out, but they should be supervised by their parents. Parents, you got to help us out, because it's not the job of community groups and law enforcement to babysit these kids. At 11 o'clock at nighttime, a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old ought to be home.
And I can understand why some of these 12-year-olds might want to be packing heat if they're marching around downtown in the middle of the night. The only thing that can stop a bad 12-year-old with a gun, of course, is a good 12-year-old with a gun, and they have the right to self-defense too. More importantly, though, the parents should be keeping track of these children, because they should never be put in a situation that necessitates self-defense. And honestly, I think part of the connection here is we need to start holding the parents legally accountable. And the precedent has been set with the Crumbleys of Michigan, Jennifer and James Crumbly, I believe, parents of the school mass shooter in that state, held liable for neglecting the very clear signs of mental distress that their son was exhibiting prior to the shooting, where they themselves armed their son in advance of the mass shooting, thus helping empower him to take the lives of others. And that should be brought into question here. Where are these 12 to 17-year-old juveniles getting firearms? I thought it was illegal for under the age of 18-year-old citizens to purchase firearms at the gun store. So if they're not buying them, then who is giving them to them? If it's friends, then we need to start holding those friends accountable. And if it's the parents, then we need to start holding them accountable too. Former Deputy Mayor Ogden Williams, I should say, is calling downtown Indianapolis at this point, when you have 7 juveniles getting shot, little better than a war zone.
Sunday, community leaders reacted to the violence.
Where do 7 people get shot at one time, other than a war zone? This is a crisis.
Westside community organizer and former deputy mayor Ogden Williams says he has one question for parents of the children involved.
Do you know where your child is at 10 p.m. at night? Do you know where he's at or she's at? Do you know? You should know. If you knew where your child was at, they wouldn't be downtown shooting people.
It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
I told you last night, no!
So again, yeah, if you're leaving your 12-year-old unaccompanied downtown, then yeah, I think it's time to pursue some neglect charges and hold these parents wholly accountable in a legal sense of the term. And now they're reinstituting a state law that had already existed, which was a youth curfew law, considered to be unenforceable, but now the justice members of the Justice Department here in this city of Indianapolis have agreed that they will take these youth into the juvenile detention center after IMPD conducts an ID check on them. So yeah, I mean, you know, and then gives parents an opportunity to pick up the wayward youths from the police station downtown. But it's tragic that now we're having to use law enforcement as a babysitting service when resources are already stretched thin dealing with violent crime around the city, including assaults that are happening at the subway of all places. And this was right around the corner from the University of Indianapolis, my alma mater, where I studied communication, electronic media, and political science. And fortunately, there was a heroic citizen, Gabriel Pizzullo, who intervened in an assault being conducted by Daniel Saunders against a subway employee, and who knows what he was disgruntled about, hurling assaults, spitting, and assaulting this woman. And fortunately, the customer was able to step in this situation and resolve it.
I had heard it from outside. I'd walked in and he was visibly assaulting, throwing stuff. I believe I saw him spit at her. And how I was raised, man, you don't do that stuff. And it was kind of go time from there.
Gabriel, seen here, says he tackled Daniel Saunders to the ground as he was trying to leave. He held him down until police arrived minutes later to make an arrest.
She didn't seem like she could defend herself in any such way. And I was afraid that he was either leaving to get something to harm her. She had said that he had threatened to kill her. I did combat sports for quite a while. So I was completely controlling. I didn't want to punch him or anything. I didn't want to hurt him too bad. So I just held him, man.
The manager is grateful that someone was there to keep his employees safe. And he's calling Gabriel a hero.
Definitely a hero. Like, you don't have to be an ordinary person. You can be a hero anytime or anywhere, wherever you go.
But Gabriel wouldn't use that word to describe himself.
All glory to God, man, for real.
So now Gabriel's potentially going to have to be waiting longer for officer response because resources are stretched thin, with the department now performing the perfunctory service of babysitting services for negligent parents. This is unacceptable, especially when we're already facing an officer shortage across the city and a hostile environment where law enforcement is feeling less appreciated than ever. Let's not forget the disastrous sentencing that was handed down on Thursday this week, a surprise and a blow to many, even noted by Mayor Joe Hogsnott, who said that it was a travesty of justice of all things. And I surprisingly agree with him because Elias Dorsey, the murderer of Officer Breanne Leath, was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder of his girlfriend and only 5 years of time served for the murder of Officer Breanne Leath. State prosecutors had sought more than 63 years, and the justice gave him that 25-year sentence with 15 years of mental health probation following up that. So he could be out in as little to 15 to 18 years for the murder of a police officer. And now the law enforcement community continues to feel unappreciated when iniquitous rulings like that are handed down, and then they're tasked with being babysitters. What were you going to say, Producer Jack?
That like 5 years is kind of it's too low. That's like kind of crazy.
Yeah, slap in the face.
Yeah.
And because the murder had happened in 2020, he'd been spending the time in detention since then awaiting trial, and the judge gave him time served for that. So yeah, this is leaving your law enforcement community out to dry, and they feel incredibly insulted, as they should. And it's also wild to consider how these activist judges make their way to the bench and then have these disastrous impacts on their community. Wild. Anyway, thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. Coming up next, we're going to provide you a little update on the situation facing New York homeowners who continue to be abandoned by the state, allowing squatters to take over their lawful property. We'll tell you of their plight coming up next on Saturday Night on The Circle.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes.
Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my gosh.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hail.
93 WIBC.
If you're looking to sell your home and you want maximum equity but aren't sure how to get it, got a name for you, Mark Dietl. He's the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. Here's what Crystal in Franklin had to say. I was moving to Kentucky and needed to move fast. I got the Mark Dietl marketing plan and was blown away. The plan worked. I got a full list price offer in the first weekend. Just like that, Mark and his team got it done.
What separates Mark Dietl from the competition is the guarantee. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. You pick the move date, no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Reach out to Mark Dietl today. Call him at 317-755-4232 or go to markdietl.com. Mark D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietl.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Did you know that the tubs and showers installed by most bathroom remodelers aren't waterproof? I'm not kidding. They're not waterproof. That's because the other guys cheap out and put acrylic caulk directly on acrylic tub and shower panels. You can't do that. Water will seep through, and then you've got mold, mildew, and rot. To do it right, you have to first prime the surfaces, then apply the caulk, then you have to seal the caulk. It's a 3-step process. Prime, apply, seal. If you've ever seen shower seams with mold growing on them, well, now you know why. Some cheapskate decided to save $25 in materials and 20 minutes of labor, and now you have a mold and mildew problem. Call Baths R Us instead. We never cut corners. We always take our time to do it right for a 100% waterproof installation every single time. Call now and get $1,500 off plus low to no monthly payments. Our number is 317-886-1761 or online at bathsrus.com. That's bathsrus.com.
Technology Recyclers is Indiana's best choice for computer and electronics recycling. A Hoosier veteran-owned company, Technology Recyclers is R2, Rios, and NAID certified, 100% landfill-free, and always guarees complete data destruction. And you can expect free business pickups anywhere in Indiana at tech-recyclers.com or call 1-800-237-3887. Technology Recyclers, the official sponsors of tomorrow. That's tech-recyclers.com for a stress-free experience in recycling.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Hey y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Spread your tiny wings and fly away, and take the snow back with you where it came from on that day.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
And if I could, you know that I would fly away with you.
As if you needed an excuse to flee the liberal hellhole of New York. Well, there's no greater reason than now the state is allowing lawless squatters to seize private property from homeowners and leave them high and dry, costing them thousands of dollars in taxes and utility bills in a ridiculous display of lawlessness. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. I'm your Bohemian codger, Ethan Hatcher. Hop in the chat on the YouTube stream while we're streaming live on the YouTube machine. You can also find my podcasts at WIBC.com and Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. This is a developing story that is growing the ire and attention of the nation as lawful property owners are being deprived of their property, not only in states like New York, but even states like Georgia, which is wild. Fortunately, Ron DeSantis recently intervened in the state of Florida and said, you're not going to have these squatters' rights here in Florida, and good for him for stepping up for homeowners' property rights. But that's not the case in New York, where disgruntled homeowners were seeking a reprieve from their local representative and reporting their outrage to CBS 2 in New York.
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
They turned off the hot water and then reported that they had no hot water. It's a $250 fine per day, up to $15,000, punishable by 5 years in jail.
So here you are. You have to pay the upkeep of the house.
Right.
And not getting any rent?
I'm not getting any rent, and I'm paying the gas and electric every month.
4 stories repeated over and over and over again by irate and often unwitting property owners. Worry lines marking their faces, who came to City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino's office desperately seeking help. Hong Chen has spent thousands trying unsuccessfully to get the squatters out of this home in Maspeth. John Sokran using his pension money for expenses on this College Point home he hoped to provide retirement income. And Susan Mascara, who has used up her savings paying for 7 years of upkeep on this Bayside home she inherited from her mother.
I'm in debt. My credit cards are pretty much maxed out.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that? Get everybody out of my yard!
Now, to a certain extent, you reap what you sow. Now, you elected these communists in the city council, and this is the kind of wealth redistribution that you can expect.
They bought their tickets. They knew what they were getting into. I say, let them crash.
But on an individual level, I certainly sympathize with their plight, because as a property owner myself, I can't imagine being deprived of revenue for in excess of 2 years. It can take up to 2 years in the New York legal system to extricate these lawless squatters from your property, and then not always successfully, even in that case. So if you needed more excuse to flee the state of New York, like, here it is. And certainly your elected representatives, the communists there in the city council, are not going to help you, because ideologically they're opposed to the concept of property ownership. They support this lawlessness. What more evidence do you need? And now the situation is being parodied by comedians online. But honestly, this plays like a real estate commercial that you can expect in lawless states like New York.
My name is Brad Bradley, and I'm the first real estate agent to take care of all of your New York squatting needs. So this right here is a wonderful pre-squatted 4-bedroom, great for entertaining, fantastic starter squatter for a new couple if you want to start small. You know, there's a lot of people in New York that want to be a homeowner, but they're not interested in putting a down payment on a house. This is actually a
I'm sorry. I like that part.
Family unit that's going to be going on the squatting market real soon. Really nice bones on this one. Hello? I think we're still good. So we got 2 empty garbage bins here, which is a really good sign. Some vacancies might be opening up. A lady actually just inherited this place, but she's insanely busy with the funeral arrangements at the moment, so plenty of options for squatting start dates. Have you noticed that these people have been gone for a while?
No.
We follow the travel schedules of New York residents to help you find the perfect house to take over by squatting in it. Are you a homeowner? Traditional or squat? You the owner of this one?
Almost 30 years.
Did you ever go on long vacations?
Yeah.
When's the next one planned?
The summer.
August or?
End of August.
Also, when you do the August trip, if you wanted to extend it a little longer, you know what I mean? It's an option. Well, you never say never. Could be 3 months. So we could probably start doing some showings there late August. I'm always doing market research. I'm always looking for new leads of properties that could be right for you. No ring cam, that's good. I'm gonna give this one another couple of days, and I think I might start doing some showings here. We do property showings, create fake leases. I've developed relationships with law enforcement to help ease the transition by having the previous owner arrested if they do try to kick you out.
Now, a lot of people, seem to be okay with this arrangement because it's, it's just wealthy property owners. It's landlords. Nobody likes the land. Landlords are evil, or multinational investment groups. And no, it's not people. It's individual homeowners like the woman we played a few weeks ago who was being interviewed by the news in New York, who inherited the home from her parents, recently deceased earlier this year, in the middle of taking care of funeral arrangements, and then these predatory squatters move into the property and seize any level of right to be there. That's ridiculous. If you are a squatter, squatters' rights is an oxymoron. Squatters should have no rights. You do not have a right to another person's property because you have laid seize upon it. Which is absolutely ridiculous, but that's the kind of lawless logic that flies in liberal states, who are also deteriorating in every other sense of the term, including daily assaults on the New York subway. We've seen shootings, we've seen stabbings, we've seen fights, we've seen people. Oh yeah, this is crazy. Mental patients who are now pushing citizens off of the platform onto the track and killing them. Yeah, getting ran over by trains. They had to deploy the freaking National Guard to start doing stop and frisk, preventing people from carrying weapons on the subway system. But Eric Adams, with a straight face, wants you to believe that everything in the subway is just fine. And, let alone the subway, they're also seizing property from homeowners and letting squatters take over. But again, Eric Adams, this is A-okay. Don't worry about it.
We're down in crime in the subway system, folks, for the first quarter. We're down. We're down 24% in March. We're down in February. Can we please stop saying we're up in crime in our subway system? We are not. We're down in crime in the subway system.
Shite. Oh, yes. That's shite.
Alvin Bragg and Mayor Eric Adams over there in New York and District Attorney Alvin Bragg owe Daniel Penny, the citizen on the subway, an apology for prosecuting him for protecting other people on the subway from violent assault. Something that has unfolded and replayed itself time and time again since that prosecution first came to light a few months ago. And the subways are less safe than ever. Eric Adams can try to gaslight you into not believing the evidence before your eyes, but we see it. It's not just conjecture, it's captured on film. It's uploaded all the time. You can follow an endless stream of nonsense on the New York City subways, and you can't hide it because of these wonderful devices that we carry around in our pockets, these phones, less phones and more entertainment centers, and documentarians, because we carry cameras and video equipment around with us at all times. So yes, we can see it, and we do not believe the lies that Eric Adams is trying to peddle. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Coming up next is the Sound Dump. Don't miss an outrageous episode in the next segment.
Hammer and Nigel.
Joe Biden speaks gibberish. Joe Biden has a hard time walking. He can't find his way off of a stage. Don't give me this crap that Joe Biden's cognitively all there and way superior to Donald Trump in that category. This stapler that we've got in the studio is completely more qualified to be running this country right now than Joe Biden.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and the allergy season is getting a jump start on all of us, and we really need to get ready to fight back. How about having Zerorez help you take on dust and dander and allergens and even bacteria in your carpets with a great spring deal? Get 3 rooms Zerorez-ified starting at just $139 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning to get that true spring cleaning feel. It's unbelievable and kind of scary just how much of the uglies are in our carpets, and it's because those carpets are the largest air filter in the home. The Zero Res service is easy to line up. You can go online at ZeroResIndy.com, do the scheduling at your convenience. And don't forget the ZR water difference. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, leaving things really clean. Now mention WIBC, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $139, plus you'll get $75 off the air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZeroResIndy.com.
JMV here for Sundown Gardens and Miss M's Home and Garden. Both nurseries receiving new loads of new inventory now. So as the weather warms, it's a great time to shop for plants and get your spring beds ready. This week at Sundown and Miss M's, get 20% off spring interior decor in the garden shop. Both shops on full display. Live north, Sundown Gardens, 186 and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com. Live south, Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135, just south of Whiteland Road, missmshomeandgarden.com.
We need each other because every someone needs someone else.
We need each other because when we work together, we can do so much more.
We connect more children with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. And that's what Child Fund is all about.
Because when you make someone's world better, you make everyone's world better.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
News, I'm Jane Fergus. A Biden campaign official says if you want to know who Donald Trump supports, just look at the mega donors at his Palm Beach fundraiser tonight.
Tax avoiders, scammers, racists, and extremists. Make no mistake, Donald Trump will do the bidding of his billionaires' buddies instead of what is best for the American people.
Fox's Madeline Rivera reporting. Aftershocks from Friday's earthquake in the Northeast could continue for a week. Fox's CB Cotton tells us about a scary situation.
One of the most serious reports following this earthquake happened about 40 miles east of the epicenter in Newark, New Jersey, when more than 24 people had to temporarily leave 3 multi-story homes after concerns about possible earthquake damage.
New Jersey had a 2.5 magnitude aftershock this morning. America's listening to Fox News.
QC Kinetics announces the arrival of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, an acclaimed orthopedic surgeon with 2 decades of experience and extensive research in regenerative medicine.
I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it, and at the same time I integrated clinical research that's resulted in several publications that are really directing the future of regenerative medicine. I was drawn to QC Kinetics after I reviewed their protocols, and everything they were doing is consistent with my own approach.
Today, Dr. Scheinkup leads the entire team of medical professionals at QC Kinetics, taking this exciting medical breakthrough to a whole new level.
What we are doing at QC Kinetics is transforming lives.
Get lasting joint pain relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. In Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel. 317-559-PAIN.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to another dive through the festering cesspool of politics. Tonight, we'll tell you about Chilean gangs taking advantage of Biden's border bloodbath loopholes, allowing them to terrorize communities across the United States.
Also, Toronto police are advising citizens to leave their keys close to the door, allowing car thieves easier access to their vehicles, another symptom of a decaying society. You'll also hear a sad case of a wayward youth without a role model humiliating himself on a live stream that's been heard by thousands, a symptom of the lack of direction plaguing youths of today. You'll hear it all for this edition of The Sound Dump.
I'll take you for a ride. I'm a garbage truck.
It's the Saturday Night Sound Dump on 93 WIPC.
I take you to the dump. I show you the sights, you know you want to ride. I'm a garbage truck.
Police in San Diego, California are warning homeowners of Chilean gangs that are well-trained, robbing multi-million-dollar mansions, looking for belongings to sell on the black market. This, according to Lieutenant Brian Brecht of the San Diego Police Department, saying that the gang has targeted their community for more than 2 years, and how they're doing this is by taking advantage of a visa loophole in the Biden administration, where the program allows tourists to enter America for 90 days or less with a visa waiver. So they're using this to enter the country and then target these wealthy communities across the United States. And there's very little that law enforcement is able to do except react after the fact.
A team of burglars can go undetected. Months ago, the sheriff formed a task force and caught 7 people from Chile who'd been breaking in and getting away with millions, $800,000 in jewelry and cash from one home alone.
The Chilean gangs have been hitting us very hard. Cash, jewelry, very high-end purses, that's pretty much the target. They're super well trained when they get here. Highly organized. They look like ninjas. They're all masked up, gloves. They each have a backpack with their particular set of tools for their job in the burglary.
Even using a jammer on wireless alarms, the sheriff recommends hardwiring your alarm system and be sure to turn it on.
Will be destroyed for sure. This is madness.
This is illustrative of the lawlessness that Biden's porous border policies have invited. Ever since he took office from Donald Trump and then began reversing a lot of those immigration policies through executive order, and we've been seeing steadily increasing disastrous effects as a result of that decision. But be glad that at least the law enforcement community of San Diego seems to be half-heartedly taking it seriously. In Toronto, they don't give a damn if you are a property owner. They are telling homeowners in the city to leave their car keys close to the door to allow thieves easier access, because look, guys, all they want to do is steal your car. Just let them have it. Just let them have it. That's the advice by Toronto police in Canada.
There's also updated advice for all vehicle owners. A message echoed by Toronto police speaking at an Etobicoke safety meeting last month. Constable Marco Ricciardi had a new message for vehicle owners who keep their fobs in Faraday pouches.
To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door. Because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns. They're loaded.
That's why Galinsky says they will be installing the door stops and taking YPR's advice seriously. But she'd like more action from police as well.
They're not even a real country anyway.
Truly a decaying society when law enforcement is telling you, just let them run roughshod over the community. Just let them have it. Nothing we can do. We're the police.
Yeah, might as well put it under the welcome mat in the front door.
Indeed. Seriously. Insurance will take care of it. Yeah. Problems going on around the world. And then we have gaslighting by liberals in the press, like Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. And this was a golden AI voice recreation of David Attenborough doing a Nature's like special on Karine Jean-Pierre, dubbed the Press Weasel.
The press weasel is among the most elusive creatures in the swamps of our nation's filthy capital. Not in the sense that it cannot be spotted, but because you will never get a straight answer from it. Over many decades in the public eye, the press weasel has evolved many unique skills used to twist the truth. These skills include the ability to blabber on for hours without really answering a question. The press weasel employs filler words and phrases such as and extending its annoying rhetoric. To the untrained ear, this might seem like mere poor speech habits. However, an experienced observer can easily decipher the bullshit being spouted by the press weasel. Phrases like, "let me be clear," combined with overly animated hand gestures, are clear signs that the press weasel is trying to distort the truth. The telltale phrases, stammering speech patterns, and exaggerated hand gestures all serve as absurd distractions, allowing the press weasel to continue its annoying blabbering without ever addressing the simplest questions.
How incredibly frightening and also infinitely entertaining are these AI voice recorders? Like, that is scary close to what David Attenborough actually sounds like on a nature documentary. And all you got to do, just give him a little bed with some nature sound effects, and the whole presence is sold. And that's in the infancy of these AI voice editors. Like, what's it going to look like in a couple of years? You know, whatever, the genie's out of the bottle, you're not going to be stuffing it back in. So you might as well get a laugh or two out of it. Now, this next clip, this is hilarious. It is sad. It is fascinating. It's like watching a slow motion train wreck, and it's symptomatic of the fatherlessness and the lack of direction that many of today's youths have. This is a clip from a couple of years ago that somehow I'd missed, but a YouTube creator that I follow recently shared it on their social media of streamer Lego Boss 789 soiling himself on a live stream. Producer Jack, check this out.
Demetrius, get off the game, go to the bathroom, and take a now.
Hey.
Bathroom and now. Go to the bathroom and take a I can smell you. Get off.
Hey,
go to the bathroom.
Get out.
Go to the bathroom. I can smell you yourself. Get up and go to the bathroom. Now!
No.
Get up and go to the bathroom!
Not yet. What the hell?
Go to the bathroom! You're yourself!
Not yet. What the hell?
Go to the bathroom! You're yourself!
Not yet. No.
I will rip everything apart. I swear to God. Go to the bathroom!
Not yet.
You're yourself!
Not yet.
You're king yourself! Poop is coming out of your idiot! Go to the bathroom!
Not yet. What the heck?
Go!
Not yet. No.
Go to the bathroom.
Now, I love the thing about this clip is we don't even have to ask producer Jack where the father is, because we already know. He's long gone. He has left a while ago and is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it sounds like that, unfortunately.
Right. You know, and then she's screaming these threats, but then not following through. Yeah, it's time to take a baseball bat because you've got an addiction problem, kid, a serious lack of direction in life. And if these video games, as somebody who loves to play video games, but if these are that important to you, then you need to find a different hobby. That is unhealthy. Have you ever had any friends or knew anybody in school that was like that, producer Jack?
No, not like this.
That's they're out there, though. They're out there.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is here, again, the lack of direction and fatherhood. Now, what we have in society is a severe lack of accountability. And this was another scene caught on social media in which some Karen was trying to shame a grandfather for smacking his granddaughter in the Walmart, but she deserved it.
Smacked his granddaughter across the face.
I smacked my granddaughter across the damn face because she was swearing in public and mouthing off to her grandmother.
Maybe if this kid had a Chad grandpa like that in his life and give him a little smacking around if he's crapping in his pants on a live stream, that would knock some sense into him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe you're young enough, producer Jack, that you can still see like a delineation between the spanking generation and the non-spanking generation.
Yeah.
And you know who you want to hang around, like who is more well-adjusted to functioning in society.
Yeah, and like, you know, you can't disrespect a grandparent. That's just not right.
No, right. You know, and then expect consequence.
Yeah, no, like I would never, but if I had disrespected like my grandparents, like my brothers would like kick my butt.
Exactly, and that's the way it should be. Before we close off the segment, now here is something to help you sleep soundly at night. Apparently, the Russian government is now testing a sonic energy weapon that is being directed and used to attack U.S. officials, dubbed the Havana Syndrome. And now having been confirmed potentially by a researcher into secretive Russian operation.
In 2018, Grozev was the first to discover the existence of a top-secret Russian intelligence unit which goes by a number, 29155.
These are people who are trained to be versatile assassins and sabotage operators. They're trained in counter-surveillance, they're trained in explosives, they're trained in using poison and technology equipment to actually inflict pain or damage to the targets.
He has a long track record uncovering Russian documents, and Grozev says he found one that may link 29155 to a directed energy weapon.
And when I saw it, I literally had tears in my eyes because it was spelling out what they had been doing.
It's a piece of accounting. An officer of 29155 received a bonus for work on, quote, potential capabilities of non-lethal acoustic weapons.
Which told us that this particular unit had been engaged with somewhere, somehow, empirical tests of a directed energy unit.
There it is.
There it is.
Written down in black and white.
I'm in danger.
Sleep well, ladies and gentlemen. Directed energy weapons now in the hands of Russian operatives. Fun times. Stay tuned to another segment of Saturday Night on the Circle coming up next.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Karen Morrell, and I'm a member of Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. I've been blessed to have many role models guiding me on my faith journey. I've always wanted to serve and help others, and TAB makes this easy by offering many outreach opportunities in our community. This has helped me find a purpose to use my God-given gifts to help others grow and thrive. Through worship, Bible study, serving meals, tutoring, and women's ministries, I've connected with others and received a sense of belonging and purpose. TAB is a place where you can connect and serve. I'm Karen Morrell, and I invite you to come and see for yourself.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
Business. It's all the things that keep this world turning. And behind every one of these companies is a partner helping to keep it all moving. It's why the local flower shop and your favorite pizza joint, the startup and the stadium, hospitals and hotels, banks and restaurants nationwide all choose the advanced network, cybersecurity solutions, and round-the-clock trusted partnership from Comcast Business, the company that powers more businesses than anyone else. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
See why Comcast Business powers more small businesses than anyone else. Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract when you add one unlimited mobile line. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Don't wait. Call to switch today. Ends 5/6/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 100 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes.
but I'm not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, yeah. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
Addiction. It's hard on those who struggle with it, but those who love the addict need support too. Matt Baer and Ryan Hedrick provide help and hope with Supporting Sobriety. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. Last week, Based Bill Maher made another surprise appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher for HBO, laying down some serious truth bombs in a post-COVID reflection.
I get it that we didn't know exactly what was happening at the beginning of COVID, and some mistakes were inevitable. But 4 years on, I'm tired of hearing, well, we didn't know. No, we didn't. But some people guessed better than others. And the people who got it wrong don't seem to want to acknowledge that now. Some people said closing schools for so long was pointless and would cause much worse collateral damage to kids, and they were right. Thank you. Don't be afraid. 4 years ago, the Daily Beast ran a story with the headline, Bill Maher pushes Steve Bannon Wuhan lab conspiracy theory, which was typical of the mainstream media at the time. Of course, it wasn't a conspiracy theory, and it wasn't owned by Steve Bannon. And now everyone, including the Biden administration, admits there's at least a 50-50 chance that the virus could have begun in the lab in Wuhan that was doing gain-of-function research on that virus. Duh.
Are you seeing a pattern? These were all the smartest scientists on the planet. Only problem is they kept being wrong. Sometimes.
Bill Maher was reflecting that a lot of COVID conspiracies are now proving to be COVID conspiracy facts. The things that at the time liberals said weren't true, like COVID came from a lab or masks offered benefit, but they turned out to be harmful. Now we're finding out that we should have never kept the kids out of school, and that natural immunity is better than vaccinated immunity. COVID fatality rate and death counts were highly inflated. The unvaccinated were scapegoated for the failure of shots, and COVID shots were not effective ultimately, something that, a lot of non-experts seem to understand, and now we're finding out after the fact, again reflected by Bill Maher.
For 2 years, we had to get nostril every time we left the house. Serious people talked about having sex through glory holes, and if you don't know what a glory hole is, I wouldn't look into it. We were told to wash our hands every 5 minutes and don't ever touch your face. And if you absolutely must go to the beach, for the sake of all that's holy, wear a mask. Outside, because the last thing you would want to do when a disease is afoot is get fresh air and sunshine and vitamin D. No, much better to stay locked up, stressed out, and day drinking. And if you do get COVID, remember, natural immunity is always the worst kind. So even if you've had the disease, you need a shot. Yes, some very bad ideas were embraced as the conventional wisdom, ideas that haven't aged well. And a lot of the dissenting opinions that were suppressed and ridiculed at the time have proven to be correct. Maybe that's why the powers that be never wanted a COVID commission.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
The experts experts do not want to admit that they made the wrong calls, or worse yet, engaged in open dishonesty, which was something that I admittedly underestimated. I was fooled by a lot of calls and warnings by experts in the medical community about the effects of COVID-19, because it seemed rational at the time to trust experts in the medical community. I thought that a communicable virus could, a pandemic would threaten people. I was surprised it hadn't occurred a long time before, as many people are flying around the world in planes. Highly infectious disease could spread very, very quickly in a modern society. So it all made sense, but I underestimated the medical community's willingness to engage in dishonesty to affect a political outcome. And now the trust has been severely damaged between medical experts and the community at large, and potentially is endangering us for a future outbreak in the future, because people are not going to trust these doctors who have lied to them before. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle, and stay tuned for Hour 2. Friend of the show, Tony Kinnett, is joining us for the program to discuss disastrous results of DEI policies across the coasts, and we'll tell you about it coming up next.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
The regular season is winding down, but the energy inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse is ramped up. Halliburton tries another three. Bang! Pacer fans, we need you to bring your intensity and passion down the home stretch and make your impact felt every game.
Step back three. Tyrese got it.
Your Pacers look to beat the Heat this Sunday. Only 2 regular season home games remain, and tickets are going fast. Buy your tickets now at Pacers.com. Pacers Heat, Sunday at 5.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all 3 with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
I'm a veteran. My victory was admitting I had PTSD and getting help.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I no longer see it as a weakness, but as a sign of strength. I call it post-traumatic growth.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran. I lost both legs in Vietnam.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was getting my benefits and a good education.
I'm a veteran. When I got out, I felt like nowhere was safe.
My victory was finding the help I needed.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
Thanks to DAV, now I feel like I'm human again.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News. 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
The U.S. keeping an eye on Iran. I'm Jane Fergus, Fox News. U.S. and Israeli forces are prepping for a possible attack by Iran or its proxies after Israel struck the Iranian embassy in Syria. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the White House.
Israeli and American forces in the Middle East are on heightened alert after Iran vowed revenge for that Israeli airstrike that killed numerous commanders in Iran's Quds force, responsible for all international operations outside of Iran. Now, this comes after that phone call between President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. President Biden says he wants to see a ceasefire immediately. An Israeli drone strike killed 7 aid workers, including an American with World Central Kitchen, which sparked international outrage. Israel investigated the strike in 4 days and released its findings. It fired 2 senior officers and disciplined 3 others.
Israel says it is taking steps to increase the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, but it is losing support from its global allies after attacks against Palestinian civilians and aid workers. Demonstrators taking to the streets protesting the Israeli government. Stephanie Bennett has more from London.
When Israel first declared war against Hamas last October, it stood unified at home with a large backing from around the world. But today, it's a much different story after more than 33,000 Palestinians have been killed. Now, 6 months into the war, many international allies are reversing support, and Israel itself is divided as thousands gather at weekly protests against the government. In Tel Aviv, demonstrators calling on the government to reach a deal and secure the release of hostages. In addition, a separate demonstration is calling for early elections, and numerous others are planned across the country.
Ceasefire talks are on the horizon as a Hamas delegation will go to Cairo tomorrow. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
5 inches of rain by tomorrow.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
All eyes on the sky. I'm Wes Woodard, and here's what's trending this hour. When you gaze up at the sky on Monday, will you be able to see the total solar eclipse?
As of right now, the answer is yes. I'm Ryan Hedrick. The forecast for viewing the total solar eclipse in Indianapolis Monday has improved greatly.
The most likely outcome is just seeing kind of a thin cirrus clouds that really wouldn't impact too much of the eclipse viewing, kind of where we're looking at right now.
Andrew White of the National Weather Service says a rain system will clear out Monday morning. Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Firefighters investigating after a blaze displaced 5 people early Saturday morning. Sasha Nixon has more.
The Indianapolis Fire Department notes that the fire occurred inside a home on Biscayne Road. Images from the scene show smoke as well as extensive damage to the roof and other parts of the property. Thankfully, no one was hurt. It is not yet clear what caused the fire. Sasha Nixon, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
25 years in prison for killing Indianapolis police officer Breanne Leath is too light, says IMPD Chief Chris Bailey. Donnie Burgess reports.
I'm a father of a daughter, and I can only imagine how the Leath family feels today.
Chief Bailey talking to WIBC's Hammer and Nigel. He says justice wasn't served for the Leath family.
I don't believe that the sentence is fitting the crime that was committed here, the crimes, multiple crimes.
Elias Dorsey was also sentenced to 15 years of mental health probation. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
I'm Wes Woodward, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast in the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Clear skies in place for the overnight. Frost is possible in some locations with low temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. Tomorrow, a dry start, scattered showers, and a few rumbles of thunder possible in the afternoon and evening. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Denny Smith here for Sundown Gardens and Miss M's Home and Garden. Both nurseries are receiving new loads of new inventory daily. As weather warms, now's a great time to shop plants and get your spring beds ready. This week at Sundown and Miss M's, get 20% off spring interior decor in the garden shop. Both shops on full display. Live north? Well, it's Sundown Gardens at 186 and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com. Live south? Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135, just south of Whiteland Road. MissM'sHomeandGarden.com.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work. Sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change. And generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
So every time you stumble, never grumble.
Next time you'll bumble even less. For up from the ashes, up from the ashes, grow the roses of success.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Grow the roses of success. Oh, yes.
Welcome back, Indianapolis. This is hour 2 of Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. Producer Jack, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Last Sunday was Oyster Sunday, the high holy holiday for all of Christendom, out celebrating Oyster with many families. Producer Jack, did you celebrate with a family on Oyster Sunday?
Oyster Sunday?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Oyster Sunday, isn't it?
I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, well, I was just relying on old President Biden, who was talking about the oyster bunnies, so I assumed that the oyster bunnies only come out on Oyster Sunday.
God bless you all. Enjoy the day, and I'm coming down to do that Easter egg roll in just a minute. Thank you all so very, very much. Thanks, everybody. And by the way, say hello to oyster bunnies. Come on up, bunnies. Get up here so they can see you.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Missed it by that much.
It was close. Now, I could see maybe having an Oyster Sunday on a coastal city. Like maybe in Maine. I'll bet they'd have some good oyster Sundays.
Yeah. And I kind of like oysters too. So
I like oysters. I like shellfish. Generally, I like better than regular fish.
Yeah.
Now, as far as an oyster bunny is concerned, do they lay pearls instead of eggs?
I do not know.
Well, see, now I would definitely go to a oyster bunny celebration if they laid pearls instead of eggs. It might be a little bit fishy, might be smelly, but I could tolerate it.
I'll check one out.
So the biggest controversy last Sunday was not that Biden mispronounced the celebration, although that is quite funny. The big controversy was that he declared it Trans Visibility Day on the high holy holiday for all of Christendom, which is quite interesting. And the Biden administration now trying to deflect and oh, no, we didn't do that. That was actually Obama who'd originally founded the holiday all the way back in 2009. And that's the story that Karine Jean-Pierre, press secretary, was trying to stick with, deflecting from this enormous insult to Christians around the country.
And I want to be very clear. Every year for the past several years, on March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility is marked. And as we know, for folks who understand the calendar and how it works, Easter falls on different Sundays, right? Every year. And this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day. And so that is the simple fact. That is what has happened. That is where we are. And I do want to say a couple of things because I think it's important here. As you just stated in your questions, what we've been hearing out there, a lot of misinformation done on purpose And as a Christian who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedoms of every American. Now, sadly, and it's not surprising, right? It is actually unsurprising that politicians are seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric. It is dishonest. What we have heard the past 24 hours. It is untrue.
Shite. Oh, yes. That's shite.
Now, I'll tell you who's being dishonest here, Producer Jack, and it's not conservative critics of this disastrous proclamation from Joe Biden. It's the press secretary in the Biden administration right here, and I put it on your show prep, too. You can look out. This is on whitehouse.gov, where Joe Biden put on the website, now therefore I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. Aha! So it doesn't matter whether O'Dummer founded the holiday back in 2009. You didn't have to go out and reproclaim it and put it on the White House website. You knew what you were doing, proclaiming this on Easter Sunday. That wasn't an accident for the White House to go out of their way and put that messaging out there, because they're trying to override the predominant culture. They're trying to replace the Western civilization and the largely Christian values that it has been associated with their new mockery of reality and swapping it out with transgenderism, something that Richard Dawkins, noted atheist, noted in the United Kingdom, they're attempting to do, swapping out the Christian values with Islamic values. And even atheist Richard Dawkins, and I am as well, understands that if you're having to choose between swapping out Christian values with Muslim or Islamic values or even transgender values, that spells disaster for Western civilization. And here was Richard Dawkins making some very fascinating remarks.
I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead. I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer. Yeah. But there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense. It's true that statistically the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down, and I'm happy with that. But I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. So I count myself a cultural Christian. I think it wouldn't matter if we substituted any alternative religion. That would be truly dreadful. I must choose my words carefully. I mean, if I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion, in a way that I think Islam is not.
Oh, correct!
He said it! He said it! Yeah, there it is! There it is!
So as an atheist myself, I really kind of resonate with what he was laying down there. I don't agree with the idea that, certainly if we're going to be replacing a set of values, replacing the Christian ethos with an Islamic or a transgender ethos is not the way to go. And if you're making me choose, I'd rather stick with just your regular Western and Christian values. Now, of course, I can't count myself as a believer because it would lead you to crazy conclusions like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who tweeted out yesterday, "God is sending America strong signs to tell us to repent. Earthquakes and eclipses and many more things to come. I pray that our country listens." Now, of course, eclipses, they happen on a schedule. Totally unrelated to whatever news item is going on. You can predict eclipses. And as far as earthquakes, there's about 30 a day that happen. It's just most of the time you can't feel it. So no, I don't think that the relative mood of God has anything to do with the weather. But as far as feeling at home in a Western civilization that is founded on many Christian values, I do feel at home, with many of those, regardless of whether I believe in the broader concept of a deity. And again, if you're asking me to choose between those Christian values or transgender values, I'm going to stick with those Christian values. And this can be shown with Stephanie Mueller, who's a trans public defender in Seattle, making a mockery of the justice system. And producer Jack, take a look at the picture that I included in the show prep. This is what they chose to wear to their public defender. A lady would not get away with this. A lady would be asked to leave court because this is wholly inappropriate. They're not wearing a bra. They got their big old fake boobies and they got their makeup dressed up literally like a clown with the thick eyeliner and the smeared on lipstick. This is a joke.
Yeah, this doesn't really look school appropriate, as I would say.
No, not school appropriate, not court appropriate. Something that was even covered in a scene in My Cousin Vinny, making a mockery of justice through inappropriate attire. And this is Stephanie Mueller, who was caught up with after their court hearing.
My comment about my client, I just met her. She's really nice. She's really smart. She sounds like she's got the right idea about things. I really support what she's up to, and I think it's fabulous. How about that?
God, she's accused of, what is it, criminal trespass?
In the first degree, yes.
Is she innocent or guilty?
She's innocent, of course.
She's innocent, okay. Well, she's caught on video being arrested and protesting and allegedly protesting. So I'm trying to get all sides. So
my client has pled not guilty. My name is Stephanie Mueller. I'm in the directory for the Washington State Bar Association. You can look me up.
Okay. Stephanie, thank you for your time.
Are you mocking me with that outfit?
Mocking you? No, I'm not mocking you, Judge.
Then explain that outfit.
So again, you're not talking about equality here. You're certainly not talking about inclusion, because a woman who appeared like this would not be allowed in court, especially acting in the capacity as a public defender, as an attorney, as somebody who is with the bar, associated with the bar. This is ridiculous, but that's the kind of degradation of standards that are invited when you abandon the foundation of Western society. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. Coming up next, guest of the show and friend Tony Kinnett joins the program. We're going to be discussing DEI policies and their disastrous consequences in Seattle and Boston. Coming up next.
Kendall and Casey.
Now, this spring is here. The seasons of allergies are upon us. We're on the rise even more.
So choppy, slurring, that one, or brew beer?
Beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder.
What is he even saying?
Well, he sounds buzzed.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
He's a former coach with two sons who played professional basketball. Satch Sullinger's a competitive individual, but his golf game was suffering because of painful joints.
Right, that's real important. The golf game. Right. As we get older, we create these bad habits because we're relegated to hit a certain way.
QC Kinetics used regenerative treatments, all natural healing properties from Satch's own body, to restore those damaged joints and get his golf game back on track.
QC Kinetics regenerative medicine is regenerating me, all natural, and that's what I'm about. I'm going to tell everybody why I'm better.
Oh, and by the way, looks like the competitive Satch is back.
We're all in the same boat, and I'm getting better, and I'm watching them stay old.
Go to QCKinetics.com. Get relief and your game back. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
This time next week, I'll be sick in bed with West Nile virus, thanks to a mosquito bite right in front of my house.
In 8 minutes, my daughter will be in an ambulance, having an asthma attack, triggered by cockroaches.
I'm going to be bitten by a tick today. I won't even know it until Lyme disease turns my life upside down.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
My name is Jamie Bowles, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer in December of 2018. Nobody would even know looking at me that I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I'm grateful for biomarker testing for that. When I was sitting down with my oncologist, there was already state-of-the-art medication available that I was going to be put on right then and there. Ask your doctor how comprehensive biomarker testing before treatment may help you decide on the best treatment. Visit noonemissed.org to learn more.
A public service message from Longevity Foundation.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Near the station. Black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIPC.
Welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. Find my podcast uploaded to WIBC.com and SaturdayNightOnTheCircle.fireside.fm. Plus, hop in the chat while we're streaming live on the YouTube machine. For years now, it's been clear what Marxists aim to achieve when they speak of equity is not through raising standards, but rather by lowering them to the detriment of all involved, thus achieving a perverse equity not through shared success, but through equal misery. The latest victims of this mindset are school children in Seattle, whose public schools are shutting down their gifted program over the objection of parents from all races. Likewise, for infants in Boston, now the General Brigham Hospital has decided to drop its mandatory reporting requirements and no longer test for infants born with drug addictions. Both policies enacted in the name of this disastrous form of liberal equity. Here to help explore this failure of Marxist detritus is a beacon of conservative thought, investigative reporter for the Daily Signal, and renowned WIBC host Tony Kinnett joins the show. Hello, sir.
Howdy, howdy.
Okay, so when I saw these stories come across my desk, I knew you would be on top of them, and indeed, you covered both stories for the Tony Kinnett Show, but I wanted to share with our audience here on Saturday Night on the Circle, because I cannot believe that these schools are getting ready to deprive gifted children of advanced classes and stick them down in this general environment that will not allow them to succeed, and it's going to be damaging for children of all races, done in the name of equity. This enrages me.
Well, yeah, and it should. I mean, there's no better way to put it other than that this is the exact thing that we've been telling everyone for ages.
Yes.
This is where it was going. That when you tell people that there are good things and bad things that are innately true about a person based on their color, then you create a system in which racism is essential. And so that's what they've done. They said, well, there's no way for black people not to be oppressed, so therefore we're not going to report certain things like child abuse due to drugs found in an infant system because they say, well, that negatively impacts black people. That is an incredibly racist thing to say, that if you measure someone's blood, it is that only black people are going to come back positive for drug content. That's a horrible thing to insinuate.
Well, yeah, what they said is it would disproportionately affect black individuals to test for drug addiction in infants, but it skips the question of why this is happening. If there's a statistical disparity, it's irrational to conclude that it's on the basis of someone's skin and not for cultural external factors that are influencing the outcomes. It doesn't address the problems that are actually existing. It doesn't address, for example, drug addicted parents, because it skips over the question of why they are using during pregnancy. And instead jump straight to the conclusion of it's disproportionately affecting minorities, therefore testing for drug addiction is racist in infants.
It's greatest common denominator, and that's the problem. And I used to argue this with my second boss over at Indianapolis Public Schools. So the first year that I was there, I had a really good boss. The second year I was there, I had a complete idiot for a boss. And when I used to argue with her that we needed to focus on the internal causes of what students were struggling with to help get them out of the gap from where the quote-unquote average student should be. And she said, well, this is, if you look at the grades, it's black students and Hispanic students that are doing the worst. And I said, is that the greatest denominator? Is that the thing all of them have in common? And she said yes, but the problem was she was wrong. That sounded like an easy answer because then you can assign all of these political motives to it. The greatest common denominator is fatherlessness. And people don't like that because then it kind of makes marriage sound like it's a necessity, and it really bothers people because you have to actually come to some moral questions about things, but they don't want to do that. So they say, sure, the majority of students have some type of home irregularity, but the second most is that they happen to be students of color. So therefore, and then they slap the label on it. And that's why the problem's never solved. And you end up getting Boston and Seattle and other schools around the country. I mean, goodness, we tried to hire Indiana University to come into IPS and do a huge study on why our math classes were racist. And it was insane. It was patently insane. And it still is, for the record.
Now, maybe you can shed a little bit of insight on this because I'm not a legal expert by any means, but I would question the legality of Boston Mass General Brigham Hospital's decision to avoid mandatory reporting by simply not testing for drug addiction in infants and then putting up the veneer of consent by making parents sign a form. Well, they're not going to sign a form if they know they've been using drugs during pregnancy. So you're basically giving criminal parents a get out of jail free card to continue abusing their children. And that's not going to be beneficial for the children in those environments either. Is that even legal to avoid reporting neglect?
No, it's not legal in any of the 50 states. It's not legal federally. And there's a key reason why this is important to look at. So administrators, the reason an administrator usually requires extra training is because it takes a little bit more knowledge than just knowing how to balance a budget to run an operation like a hospital or a school. One of those classes that you normally take when you're getting a medical administration degree or when you're getting an education administration degree is you take a class on law, either medical law or education law. And it just so happens that a big section of education law and medical law is mandatory reporting, and that as an adult who works in any capacity with kids at all, you are by default a mandatory reporter. If you suspect, I'm not talking about a blood test, I'm saying if you see what looks like an off-color spot that you suspect is a bruise, you are required by state and federal law in both Indiana and Massachusetts to report that to child services immediately. Period. End of story.
With as much resources that are dedicated in hospitals to navigating the legal system, I'm surprised not one of their lawyers cried foul before they announced this policy. It seems like an open door to litigation, if you ask me.
It is, and the problem isn't that no one really asked the lawyers. It's that these administrators hire crappy law firms who actually don't keep as tight a watch on some of these things because they've become socially acceptable. And honestly, to be quite clear, the hospital administrator that made this move likely didn't even contact the law. Because, again, the idea of these administration-level staff in our society, this nobility, if you will, They just think they're better than everyone else, and that their moral righteousness gives them the ability to ignore everything else and shove this woke racist crap down our throats.
And isn't it interesting how on opposite sides of the country, from Seattle to Boston, this shared aim of Marxist equity is resulting in the detriment of the well-being of children, again, on opposite sides of the country, but by enacting the same policy ideas, it's creating the same destruction in its wake. In the case of Seattle schools, by limiting the gifted programs, which also damages Hispanic gifted children and Black gifted children in the same way that it damages white gifted children, because parents of all races objected to eliminating this class. It's going to overburden teachers who are already understaffed, underfunded, and dealing with children who don't care about their education because the parents behind them don't make them. And so then you're going to be sticking all the gifted children, again, of every race, in an environment where they are not able to succeed and benefit. And that's hurting everyone involved through equity.
It's particularly disgusting for two reasons. Number one, they called the Black parents that complained tokens, like Uncle Tom's. Oh my God. So like actually just calling Black people like uppity, upstart, horrible stereotypes and racist terms because they want their kids in good classes, as though that's selling out to the white man or something. That's disgusting.
And isn't it a white administrator that's doing this? I believe her name was Carrie Hansen.
Oh, it's always some bitter old progressive white woman who has like a sharp chin. She's gaunt. She has like a Green Day emo haircut, and she has Harry Potter glasses. Every one of them. They all look. It's so weird. But aside from that, there's something more insidious here, and that is that these organizations, like Indianapolis Public Schools, for instance, they've been trying this racial equity stuff, and it's like a 4-year plan. Like, remember Germany's 4-year plan and then the Soviet Union's 4-year plan? They have literal 4-year plans. And they say, okay, we're going to racial equity this whole thing for 4 years. And then the end of the 4 years comes up, and no one asks them, hey, did it work? Because it didn't. The students' grades have not improved in areas that they have focused. And then they just say, all right, well, we need another 4-year plan. And this has gone on in some of these districts now, like in Baltimore, 24 years of repeated racial equity plans that have been failures. And no one stops and goes, you know what, maybe an IPS, maybe Alicia Johnson's full of crap. No one does that because she is this special protected equity higher class of individual who just woke scolds everyone and yet hasn't done anything for students or families.
The grades keep getting worse, but they never apologize for the disastrous effects of their policies, and it's disgusting. And it's, again, regressive for all races.
Well, again, it's just regressive for people. Indeed. These people, in my mind, these are Hoosiers in Indianapolis. These are Hoosier children. The fact that Hoosier families can't get access to what they need because Patricia Payne has some warped view of how, quote-unquote, races should interact with each other when she's hailed as some type of civil rights hero when she's actually a disgusting person, it's despicable that Hoosier children have to suffer for this. And then in Seattle, those are Seattle children who have to suffer and not receive the opportunities they deserve because someone's afraid that too many kids of a certain amount of melanin in their skin are going to get something out of it. It's like eugenics all over again.
Well, and then they're gaslighting us because that administrator in Seattle, Carrie Hansen, said that, you know, in defending the decision to remove gifted programs, claiming students who have been historically excluded will now have the same opportunities for services as every other student and get the support and enrichment they need to grow. But that's gaslighting you because they're doing this by eliminating opportunity and by tearing down the gifted students who have already achieved it.
Ethan, it's all gaslighting. I just talked about this in Arizona. There were parents who were upset because there was disturbing content that was not scientific that was being put in the school's health education program. And the board president responded, I will never apologize for being inclusive, therefore implying that if you do not agree with her, you're some bigoted, exclusive person. That's what they do.
And at the end of the day, by enacting these equity policies, it is the children who suffer. And what conservatives had been warning about for years now, it began when the discussion of critical race theory first entered into the public consciousness, and then they shifted it to diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it all ends in the same disastrous result for children. I appreciate you coming on the show, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening to 93 WIBC. Stay tuned for more Saturday Night on the Circle coming up next.
Hammer and Nigel.
Biden constantly lies.
He was doing a victory lap on prices. He said costs were down. Just because it's not at the record level that you were responsible for previously, you don't get to do a victory lap. It's still substantially higher than when your predecessor was in office.
Yeah, and they're not coming back down.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
It's just alcohol. Everybody drinks. You may have already heard this statement from your teen. I'm Tammy Silverman with Indiana Youth Institute. Alcohol is the substance most commonly abused by teens. Survey data shows that 2 in 10 Indiana high school students reported drinking in the past month, and more than half of Hoosier teens say it would be easy to get alcohol. How do you talk with your teen about alcohol use, especially if they see peers or adults drinking? First, understand that your child may point out contradictions in our society's views on alcohol. It's okay to acknowledge those facts. Talk with your teen about the many risks of alcohol use. During your conversation, you can both validate their views and uphold your family values. You are the first line of defense against alcohol abuse, so don't be afraid to talk to your teen. What you say has a big influence on their decision to drink or not. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
It's not just adults who can feel stressed out. Our children feel stressed too. I'm Tammy Silverman of Indiana Youth Institute. Between school demands, maintaining friendships, and expectations from adults, it's no wonder that children sometimes feel stressed out. But unlike adults, experts say children may not be able to recognize stress or know how to cope. Luckily, you can help your child handle the challenges they're facing. Start by making yourself available to talk and be a good listener. Let your child express their views, and when you respond, focus on your child's feelings rather than your own. You can also ask your child what they need from you, whether it's advice or help solving a problem. But if stress is still overwhelming, experts recommend you reach out to a licensed mental health professional to make sure your child gets the support they need and deserve. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
I'm Jack Callahan. U.S. and Israeli forces on heightened alert against a possible Iranian attack as the U.S. urges Israel to better protect civilians in Gaza.
We have tens of thousands of dead and injured Palestinians. Now, some of them are Hamas, no question about that. But the toll's just been too high. We want Israel to succeed here. Of course we do. But how they do it matters as well.
National Security Council Communications Advisor John Kirby. Border Patrol agents admits they don't have the time or manpower to patch the holes in the border wall in New Mexico being exploited by immigrant smugglers.
I've seen this crisis spread. You know, we started talking about it in Texas, and then we started talking about it in Arizona, and now we're talking about it in New Mexico. There is no end to this. Essentially, Americans are less safe than we were 4 years ago.
Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, America, is listening to Fox News.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Gravely's Mow the Distance sales event is back. Now through Monday, you can save up to 25% with special financing available on America's most rugged mowers, including the Gravely ZT HD. It's the residential mower built to commercial standards with the power, durability, and high performance Gravely is known for. With a Gravely, you can count on more comfort, more speed, and more precision. But hurry, these special Mow the Distance savings are only available through Monday and only at your authorized Gravely dealer.
Want to find out what real retirement planning is all about? Tune in to Expedition Retirement with Greg Ayler, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Children are placed in foster care through no fault of their own. Because of abuse or neglect, it's heartbreaking.
We were just left in a hotel.
Tay and his brothers were adopted with help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. But more than 100,000 children in the U.S. are still waiting for a family.
Now that I'm adopted, I can focus on being a kid.
Learn how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIPC.
Welcome back to 93 WIBC, Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher. This segment, I wanted to talk about Bobby Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr. He's on the warpath, appearing on CNN and giving a very unexpected answer to a direct question. When asked who poses the greater threat to democracy, be it Donald Trump or Joe Biden, according to independent candidate RFK Jr., it's Joe Biden. Hands down.
When people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that is it equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court that shows that he started censoring not just me. For 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give the access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. He said it. He said it. There it is. There it is.
Now, the real interesting question of RFK's candidacy here is who is he going to peel away more voters from? Because it's been speculated that he's going to be peeling away more Biden voters, but with a stance like that, I'm just not sure that's going to be the case. I mean, like it would seem that he would be peeling away more Trump voters, especially with his views on vaccines. And there's, a lot of people who are not in Trump's base who are looking for an excuse not to support either candidate, I think, and potentially that could be damaging to the former president. I don't know, but it's very interesting to have his views there that Joe Biden is ultimately more damaging to democracy, and that could be because of incursion on freedom of speech. Now, he's targeting political opponents. We've seen how the Justice Department has been maneuvered specifically to target Donald Trump very unjustly. And then also potentially what's coming down the pike in the future. We talked about earlier in the hour how Joe Biden had instituted or redeclared, I should say, Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter Sunday, of all things, March 31st. But what's that going to look like in the future if hate crime laws start seeping into our shores? And it's not so far-fetched when you see who Biden is appointing into office. The State Department, I believe. This was Zakia Carr, who is now going to be heading up their diversity, equity, and inclusion in the State Department. And in Scotland, they just passed a hate crime law, expanding their definitions and, according to the Scottish Prime Minister, creating new offenses which would punish people for expressing their views about transgendered individuals or just stating a simple biological fact that men are men and women are women, something that would be classified as hate speech in Scotland. But according to the Scottish Prime Minister, Humza Yousaf, this hate crime law won't be abused.
I'm very proud of the Hate Crime Act. We have seen, I'm afraid, not just in the UK, of course Scotland, but right across many parts of the world, it's been a rising tide of hatred against people because of their protected characteristics. In Scotland, having this hate crime legislation, protecting people, giving them that protection from hatred, while at the same time protecting people in terms of the freedom of expression, for me ensures that we've got a piece of legislation that will be enacted and implemented in a way that is absolutely balanced and make sure it absolutely protects people in their freedom of expression, but guards people from, as I say, that rising tide of hatred that we've seen far too often in our society. Police officers have been dealing with hatred for many, many decades and been doing it very sensibly indeed. So let's take the new offences, the stirring up offences that have been the focus of a lot of discourse and discussion. They've been in existence since 1986 in terms of racial stirring up offence of hatred. I believe that the new offences that have been created, there will be policed in again a very similar way, policed sensibly.
Tally-ho, good chap. Out enjoying a cup of tea on this warm summer's day, I see. Well, what else? Hold on a minute. What? Queen Elizabeth's name. Oh, no. You're not using a saucer, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you know. Oh, no. That's illegal.
So they've created these new offenses, and you heard the Prime Minister say it there, that could result in the arrest of people like J.K. Rowling, who has been an outspoken spokesperson for just simple biological reality, and not putting up with abuse from transgender activists who are specifically targeting her for not capitulating to their mental disorder. And so there in Scotland, she said, in passing the Scottish Hate Crime Act, Scottish lawmakers seem to have placed higher value on the feelings of men performing their idea of femaleness, however misogynistically or opportunistically, than on the rights and freedoms of actual women and girls. What's hilarious is that after this hate crime law legislation went into effect, more than 3,800 complaints were lodged in just the first 2 days, and most of them were directed not at J.K. Rowling, but rather at Scottish Prime Minister himself, Humza Yousaf, for a 2020 speech that he delivered on the Scottish Parliament, which decried that there were too many white people in positions of authority in the overwhelmingly white country. Now, I wasn't going to mention this, but since he brought it up, I would like to note that it's perfectly fine to have a Scottish Prime Minister named Humza Yousaf, but isn't it interesting that we never seem to see Saudi Crown Prince Jeremy Walters or Saudi Prince Charlie Baker? You know what I mean? It only ever seems to go one way, where the leadership, of predominantly Anglo-Saxon countries is then usurped by immigrants who have come to their country. And Humza, obviously born there with a thick Scottish accent, but it just doesn't seem to go the same way in Middle Eastern countries. Just saying. And as far as importing these hate, speech laws into the United States, it's not so far-fetched when you see who the Biden administration is courting. In the State Department, I said he had recently appointed Zakiya Carr. That was the former DEI officer in the White House, performing at the behest of Joe Biden. And now this is going to be in your State Department.
I think that there's a culture of, the culture of misogyny has allowed men to act without consequence, and it becomes part of what we believe is normal, right? And that in order to make any change, we've literally got to be about the work of dismantling that traditional structure at every juncture. But how do you do that and appear to be a get-along person or a good team worker? And, for some reason, there's also this very negative stereotype of feminists as being angry people who just don't smile and don't know how to have a good time. And I think, unfortunately, guess what? We have great time.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop.
They are trying to dismantle brick by brick the edifice of Western civilization and remake it into a mockery of logic. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. Coming up next, final segment of the show, we're going to tell you about a Republican legislator in New York who is trying to use liberal logic against them and push back against a discriminatory new law that would prohibit cooking methods that have been used since the dawn of civilization. We'll tell you about it coming up next. Stay tuned.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes. Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my gosh.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hell.
93 WIBC.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Why? Why take a chance? Why risk a mistake? Why say something? We all have reasons why we choose to ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right. The word why can either paralyze us or empower us to stand up and protect what we love. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my family.
I see safe for my friends.
I see say for my students.
We see say for each other.
I see say because all of this matters.
We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies this community we're all a part of. So protect your everyday. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
If I could be you.
And you could be me?
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
My prayer is to linger with you.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
At the end of the day.
Welcome back to 93 WIBC, the final segment of Saturday Night on the Circle. I can't believe how fast these last 2 hours have gone. Thank you for joining me on the show. And if you missed a moment, catch the podcast uploaded to WIBC.com and Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. Plus, the shows are archived on YouTube, where you can watch the program unfold live every 7 to 9 on Saturday. And hop in the comments. We've had quite a lively chat this show, and I love seeing everybody interact with the program. Okay, the final segment, I wanted to tell you about a law which passed last year in the state of New York that would prohibit people from using wood-fired stoves to cook their pizzas and matzah in the state of New York. Now, obviously, this is absolutely ridiculous. And now Assemblyman Sam Pirozzolo of Staten Island has proposed a new bill, Preserving Our Culinary Traditions Act, labeling it ethnically discriminatory to have this law in place. And I love that he's using liberal logic against them in order to push back on this prohibitive new bill that would require you to install like tens of thousands of dollars of filtration equipment just to filter out your pizza oven, something that was protested by Scott Lebedo, a citizen of New York City, last year when he famously, like Walter White style from Breaking Bad, tossed slices of pizza on the lawn of the city hall.
The woke-ass idiots who run this city are doing everything in their power to destroy it. We have naked men with their teeth bouncing around all over the city yesterday, in public, in front of children. We have the most violent, raging crime rate ever. We are being invaded by illegal immigrants who are being treated way better than our homeless veterans, our teachers, and first responder heroes who were fired, still not compensated because they didn't take the Fauci injection. Our city schools produce the dumbest kids, and the woke-ass punks who run New York City are afraid of pizza. The world used to respect New Yorkers as tough, thick-skinned, and gritty. Now we have become fight. It's a damn shame. You heard of the Boston Tea Party? Well, this is the New York Pizza Party. Give us pizza or give us death.
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's anti-Italian discrimination.
And the greenies of New York City are trying to convince you that it is pollutive to burn wood to cook your food, something that human beings have been doing since the dawn of civilization. Since before history was written down, we have been using fire from wood to cook our food. Like, fine, filter out the chemicals from a chemical plant or a factory, but leave the cooks alone. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Before I end the show, I wanted to share a little treat with producer Jack. Last week, you had said you've never tried a Kinder Bueno candy bar, and so I thought this would be our opportunity to share it on the air. This is delicious. It's an international treat. Kinder being the German word for children, Bueno being the Spanish word for good, made by an Italian confectionery. This is a milk chocolate, hazelnut, and wafer delight. It is, I found these a few months ago.
Thank you.
Aren't they, though? Like, these are good. We tried with producer Carl a few months ago, Jeremy's chocolate, which was supposed to fight back against woke Hershey's chocolate. But this is way better. Treat yourself to a Kinder Bueno sometime, because a Kinder Bueno candy bar, that's some prime stuff, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling
this
you.
is like way better than a Kit Kat.
And with that, we bring the program to a close. I leave you with my parting words of wisdom. As always, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, remember that life is a state of mind. See you next week.
No reason to live with achy joints.